What up? What up? What up, everyone? Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode here of the Impact Sports Radio Show. My name is Chris Asbrock, and I am your host today. If you're watching on YouTube, it is a little picture's a little brutal, but it is what it is. This episode here, I'm going to go over the UFC 249 card and then the WWE Money in the Bank and kind of go from there on that. But in terms of the UFC, obviously with the pandemic we've had so far, it's crazy times. It is definitely crazy times here. It's one that we are certainly not used to, and it's we're at that point to where we are just where everyone's flying by the seat of their pants. And, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. But, right now, at this point in time, folks, we have live sports coming up, which is awesome. We have a full-blown UFC card coming up. And hey, what more could you ask for on that? So, UFC 249, as I'm kind of going through the card here, if you check out, I'm switching things over real quick before I get into the full card. I'm switching things over to from the previous website, which is feeltheimpactsports.com, over to WordPress, but I haven't yet, got everything switched over fully. But I'm on. If you check out, it's impactsportscincinnati.wordpress.com. That's where you can find everything right now at this point in time. So it's, everything's a little fuzzy on that, but, you can make sure you can check that out there. That's where you can find everything in terms of the content that I'm starting to post now. So that'll eventually, be switched over full time. We have, like I said, finally, we have some live sports. As wrestling fans know, we were able to check out WrestleMania. That was, the biggest event that the WWE puts on. It was in an empty arena. Now, Raw and SmackDown, those shows, empty arena. NXT, empty arena. Same can be said about AEW. Well, now, UFC set to do the same thing. Dana White was looking at doing basically a private island and doing what was called Fight Island and doing stuff with that. That would have been cool. But everything kind of switched out, and we are now going to Jacksonville, and that's what we're looking at now for the UFC 249 card. And that was supposed to take place in April. I think it was April weekend, like the 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that. One of those days, that's when it was set to take place in Brooklyn, and that would have been phenomenal because that was originally supposed to be Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Tony Ferguson. However, Khabib is obviously stuck in Russia due to the travel restrictions and everything like that with the pandemic going on. That's where we're at now. So Dana White did what he could, as only Dana White can do, and he was able to get stuff rolling with a huge fight card with a bunch of fighters. That it's going to be an awesome card, plain and simple. So that's something we're looking at here. We can be excited about. It's going to start off it's set to be on ESPN Plus and ESPN. That's what we're looking at right now in terms of where to watch it. It is an ESPN Plus pay-per-view, which I am not a fan of, especially, I like the ESPN Plus pay-per-views, but at this point in time, with everything going on with the jobless numbers as they are, I don't see, putting it out there to where have more people have to pay for your product, especially at a steeper price. That right now at this point in time, not sure how I feel about it, but it is, right now, like I keep saying, it is what it is. So that's what we're looking at right now. Right. The fight that's going to kick it off is Jorgen Castro taking on Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy, NFL fans know Greg Hardy, not a good human being, plain and simple. He was kicked out of the NFL simply because of, his domestic violence issues. He comes in at 5-2. De Castro comes in at 6-0. This is an interesting fight to kick off the main card. it has some intrigue. Castro has 6 professional fights. 2 of them have gone the distance. The other 4 were via TKO stoppage or KO stoppage in the first round. It's going to be interesting. The Greg Hardy experiment's one to watch. The UFC, for some reason, they're in love with Greg Hardy. And, with that being the case, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think that, Greg Hardy, he packs a punch. But he's 2-2-1 over his last 5 fights. And that, that's a little iffy. This is a huge fight for both guys, and Hardy has the height and weight advantage and reach advantage. So that's going to be, the interesting thing to see. Greg Hardy averages 4.42 significant strikes a minute compared to just 1.85 for Castro. So that's something to watch there. I think Hardy's going to take it to him in this one. I think he's going to pull off the victory. Then this next one, Calvin Katar and Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens weighed in today. He was overweight. He was 5.5 pounds overweight. So he's closer to the next division up compared to the one he's fighting on. So therefore, he has to forfeit 30% of his purse. I think, Stephens tends to go away from the technical side of things and he tends to throw caution to the wind a little too much. My dog's laying on me. She's dreaming. She's twitching on me here. But he does. He throws caution to the wind and he tries to go for the knockout as opposed to being a little technical. I think that this is where it could get him here. Calvin Katar, he's 20-4 compared to Jeremy Stephens 28-17. Katar's a boxer. He likes to stand in there and just throw. That's where it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out, because I think if Stephens, chooses to stay in there and stay disciplined and not go, away from everything, I think he wins this fight. But if he chooses to and really goes, like I said, throws caution in the wind, if he does that, boom, it's going to be a loss for Jeremy Stephens here. I'm still going to go with Calvin Katar in this one. I think he's going to strike his way to the victory, and which I just see it happening, especially with Jeremy Stephens coming in overweight. I think he's, that's something that could be a little more motivation on the other side of it. That, if you're not going to take it as serious as I can, then I think I'm going to try and take it to you. However, that's weird. Jeremy Stephens is a veteran, so it does seem a little weird that he did come in as overweight as he did. So that right there alone is, something seems to be a little up here. Next fight, Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. This one's going to be it's going to be a fun one to watch. These two guys they're big dudes, and they are big dudes, and they throw bombs. It's going to be, like I said, if you like a heavyweight fight where you're going to see guys just, drop bombs on each other, this is the fight for you. However, when you see kind of fights like this, not always does it play out like we had hoped or like we would like to think it would play out. Sometimes they are really ugly fights. They, both guys are tough. Like I said, both guys are tough dudes, and they're coming in around that weight, close to the maximum 265 weight. Both of them came in close to that. So I don't see, if both guys are going to try and land the big knockout blow, it could make for an ugly fight, because like I said, both these guys are pretty durable. They can take a beating. That's where you're going to see this fight kind of be ugly, I think, and it not play out like people are hoping. So, with that being the case, I still think Ngannou, I think he does come away with the victory here. I think he does. I think he's going to do more than Rozenstruik will, and I think that's going to be enough to get him to victory. The second to last fight, which is the co-main event for the World Bantamweight Championship, Henry Cejudo comes in at 15-2. Facing Dominick Cruz, the UFC's first bantamweight champion, comes in at 22-2. This is an interesting fight for reasons that we have not seen Dominick Cruz in forever. It's been a long, long time since we've seen Dominick Cruz in the octagon, and that's where it's going to be. That's where there's some intrigue here. Obviously, Henry Cejudo, guys, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, 2008 Beijing Olympics. He doesn't like to wrestle though. He really doesn't, but he keeps it in his back pocket simply, for to come out and take it to his opponent, and he can use it if necessary. However, he's one that, based off Dominick Cruz and his injury history, that's why Cruz hasn't been fighting as long or in such a long time, I should say. It's because of those injuries. Dominick Cruz, he hasn't fought since December 30th of 2016. That's when he lost the belt to Cody Garbrandt. That's where, we're kind of looking here like, well, okay, now do we see the same Dominick Cruz that we've seen in years past? You're going to see the same Dominick Cruz. He's very, very, very intelligent. If you listen to him on the UFC broadcast, what Dominick Cruz brings to the fight game. The guy's incredibly intelligent, and that's what he's going to bring in this fight. He's a very unorthodox fighter. Throws a lot of different looks at you, and he's one that I think he's going to frustrate Henry Cejudo early on. But I just think that Cejudo, with his, he's just great. I mean, he's a really great fighter. 2-division champion. Cruz has battled through so much to get to where he is now. And, it's crazy to see what we're looking at on this card. Like I said, it's weird to see your, Dominick Cruz on this card. It's weird, but it's an incredible matchup. And I think that, Dominick Cruz, like I said, he's going to frustrate Henry Cejudo early on. And that approach, just because of the different looks, he's very unorthodox, very, I don't want to say twerky, but he's all over the place. It looks like that's the way Dominick Cruz, he's just giving you different looks and he's making you think. And that can, like I said, that's going to frustrate Cejudo early on. The question is where, or whether or not that Cejudo, if he is able to, rebound mentally and adjust to that and come away with it. I think Henry Cejudo, I think he retains, it's just simply because, I think right now at this point in time, he's the better fighter. The ring rust or the cage rust will show, I think, on Dominick Cruz towards the end of this fight. I just, if Dominick Cruz wins this might be one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of sports, just simply for what he's had to face. And, but good on him though. Dominick Cruz is one heck of a fighter. And, he's definitely going to make it difficult for Henry Cejudo, but I think the gold medalist gets it done. Henry Cejudo is a champ for a reason, and I think that's going to be, the reason why they get it done here. So that's one thing to take a look at, in that fight. But it's going to be a good one. Next one is the main event. Tony Ferguson comes in at 25-3, taking on Justin Gaethje, 21-2. It's for the interim lightweight championship. Again, this is not the fight many people were expecting. This was supposed to be Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. However, fight fans, as we all know, that Khabib Ferguson fight has to be cursed. We've been trying for this fight forever. It just seems like it's just never going to get scheduled. However, the winner of this fight should come away with a title opportunity and a chance to unify it against Khabib, who is, like I said, right now stuck in Russia. I think this is definitely fight of the night, a contender for fight of the night. It's that good. It's going to be a great fight. I've heard some things. I think it was Luke Thomas on his show on Sirius XM was talking about, who's the better fighter for Khabib in terms of the matchup against Khabib. And they were saying, Justin Gaethje was compared to, Tony Ferguson is the better fighter, at least in our opinion, based off of that show and then what I'm thinking here as well against Justin Gaethje. But, when it comes to that, but then if you look at the matchup of what could be in terms of unifying it, I think Gaethje is going to be the better fighter. And everything that they had listened or that they had brought on in that show made a lot of sense. And that's kind of how I'm thinking here. Like, well, it does make a lot of sense in terms of just the approach that Gaethje brings. He's, a lot of people say he's one-dimensional. He's looking to just sit there and come right at you and look to inflict some serious damage. But then on the other side, you look at Tony Ferguson, and my God, that guy, he's won 12 straight fights. My goodness, this guy is an absolute savage. Provides a lot of different looks. He hasn't lost since May 5th of 2012. That spans 12 fights. And of those 12 wins that he's had recently, or not recently, over the last almost decade, only 3 of them have gone to the judges' scorecard. Tony Ferguson looks to, he looks to finish you. He's a slow starter. He's notoriously slow to get going. He'll take some damage. He's very, very good at, of receiving the damage and going off of it. So you look at this fight, this might be the toughest match that Ferguson's had so far. Justin Gaethje, this guy he's a beast too. He will knock you out. And that's the thing. He suffered. Well, he started off UFC, was the Ultimate Fighter 25 finale. He knocked out Michael Johnson. And then after that, he did suffer 2 straight losses to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier via a TKO and a KO loss in both of those fights respectively. But he has gone on to win 3 straight fights and, all spectacular fashion, all knockouts in the first round. That's what he brings to the table. One of those, that's what you're going to be thinking about when you move forward in this fight. It's like, okay, how are these guys going to go at it with each other? I would expect, it's going to be something you're going to see Justin Gaethje going at it hard, trying to get that knockout early on. The thing that's the key here in this fight is you have to watch the cardio. Justin Gaethje, he has to work on his cardio because Tony Ferguson's cardio is ridiculous. It is off the charts. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on in this fight as well because, this could be something. If the longer this fight goes, the more it's going to benefit Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is an absolute savage, like I said. What he can do is he brings a lot of different looks. He brings just a vicious elbow that, he's looking to literally decapitate you with his elbow. And he inflicts serious, serious damage to his opponents just off of that alone. Like I said, when you step in the octagon with Tony Ferguson, you're going to come out a bloodied, beaten mess. You may beat him, but you're going to look like you've been in a fight with a road grader because that's just how, your face is going to be messed up because he does inflict a lot of damage. He connects on a lot of shots. That's what's going to be interesting about this fight because Ferguson does a great job of adapting to his opponents. And that's one thing we have to watch here because if Justin Gaethje continues to go after him and just be the so-called one-dimensional fighter that he is, it's going to get to the point to where Tony Ferguson's just going to sit back, absorb that damage and then just come out and I think just eventually wear him down and destroy him. I think that's what you're going to end up seeing. The cardio thing is that's going to play a serious factor in this fight because, again, as the longer this fight goes on, the more and more and more it's going to wear down Justin Gaethje compared to Tony Ferguson just simply because his cardio, like I said, is absurd. I think this is going to be a fantastic fight. I'm expecting Tony Ferguson to come away with the victory here. I think that he will eventually, he's going to adapt and wear down Justin Gaethje and then get the victory. It might be a knockout victory in the 4th round or so, but it's going to be, I think you're going to see Ferguson retain his belt and look on, or not retain, but win the interim belt, and then go on to finally face Khabib Nurmagomedov, and the fight that fight fans have been waiting for years. So that's one thing to definitely keep our eyes on, and hopefully finally we'll get it. But other than that, this has been it's a tough time. But folks, again, we are finally starting to get back to some bit of normalcy here. Hopefully that's what we're going to see moving forward. But right now, we're starting off with a great fight card. Make sure you check it out. Again, it starts 6 o'clock. I believe my TV had 6 o'clock ESPN for the entire prelims. So that'll be about 4 hours before the pay-per-view portion starts. Again, it's going to be a great, great card. Make sure it's something you check out. As always, make sure you check us out on Twitter at ISC. Well, IS Cincy, I should say. So at IS Cincy and Beck Sports Cincy, and then also at I am Chris Asbrock. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have yourselves a good one. Take care.
Perfect timing.
Really, guys? Really? You come in?
Yeah, Daddy.